the first thing we're going to look at today is a question. Rach, do you want to read that question?
Yes, well, Red Squirrel 4626 says, "Hi everyone, hoping for some advice on upgrading PPOR next year. We have to sell our current place, first home, it's a townhouse, to buy the next one. Looks like bridging isn't an option and we would like to avoid renting. What is the best approach for selling and buying at the same time? We have been chatting to some agents and get a sense of our potential sale price, and we've received some advice around leasebacks or putting offers in subject to sale. Do these approaches work or are they unappealing in reality?"
I mean, I'll hand it over to John Pidgeon and Rach Kroon to talk about this because they've got the YouTube show This Is Property, which is also a podcast. Is bridging dead? I don't know if I would ever do it.
But people still do a lot of bridging.
Right.
Like my personal thoughts are bridging can be a bit scary, but people do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it. Personally, I would never do it.
I'd always recommend against it, but people do it. They want what they want, and
So
bridging's an option.
So Red Squizzer, it's great that they don't give it to you as an option because I would prefer not to. I think it's a common one where we want an ideal world, don't we? We want a situation where we're selling our current home and then buy our next one, and then we move out of that property and move into this one straight away, and it's all clean.
Simultaneous settlement.
Yes, so it's all just the stars are all aligning. The facts are the stars don't align generally in markets where you've got no control over what's happening, right? So would we agree in the world or in Australia right now that majority of markets are quite warm to hot and we've got limited supply and high demand?
That's right.
So we're not going to have any trouble selling said property. We may have some issues trying to find something to buy. So where I'm going with that is with the first part of it, fine. If we can get a longer settlement, that's highly encouraged, isn't it, right? Just to be able to say, right, maybe I can squeeze a 120-day settlement out of the potential buyer, and that gives me 4 months to go and sort my stuff. It'll be the other side that you may have the complications with in sense that you might have 5, 10, 15, 20 parties trying to bid against you to buy this potential house, and one comes in and says, I can settle in 30 days.
Yeah.
Others might say, well, 50 days, 60 days, whatever it may be. The vendor basically has the control because of the type of market that we're in.
You guys work around a lot of property transactions. Do you see it much in the wild that you actually get a simultaneous settlement?
We do hundreds of simultaneous
so
settlements a year.
It is
a thing.
It's a but I know it's a thing, but is it actually quite common that you see it?
I think it's common if it's well project managed from the start. You can't jump in. We can't jump in 5 minutes before settlement and orchestrate something like that. But with clients that you work with from the start before they sell their home, absolutely. You can do everything you can to make sure the chances of a simultaneous settlement are high.
So the way I see it, I would imagine to get it perfect, there's risks on both sides. There's risks of finding the actual house that you want to buy, and then there's the risk of selling the one that you're in, right? Now, in a market where things are hot and things are moving, the selling risk is probably quite low. So do we make sure – because what they say hoping for some upgrading the PPOR next year. And if you are watching on YouTube, we are trying to get a bit more YouTube good, and I'm putting the actual text of the question up there. So the approach of selling and buying at the same time, I think my question to both of you is – in a perfect world, the best way to do it, to find a place and then buy it and then list?
My opinion is that you need to look at your personal circumstance, and depending on your equity position and your income position, the advice would be different.
Right.
Your options.
Because if you were to buy, sorry to interrupt you, if you were to buy first, obviously bridging enters the chat.
It doesn't have to.
Right.
Some people have enough equity and enough income to be able to buy first and then sell without engaging bridging. A lot of people can get the finance to hold the two at the same time, even if it's only for a very short period of time. And that doesn't need to be bridging. However, I would say the majority of people, it's this. This is the process for the majority of people that don't have a huge amount of equity and income to be able to have a lot of choices. It is you get a pre-approval first. You don't list your house without a pre-approval to know that what you're looking at is something that's achievable for you. You can get approved for the next loan. You know that everything's going to be fine before you list your home and uproot your family. Then you sell your property, but you do that with an extended settlement. So a lot of the time you can get a 3-month or a 4-month settlement on your property.
So at least you control what you can control by saying, we're going to sell our house, but there's a condition, extended settlement.
Yeah, we might be able to bring that forward. But from the time, let's say you do a 4-month settlement, just for argument's sake, and you've got, from the time you exchange contracts, you've got 4 months. You've got 2 months or 3 months to go and find a property, and then you've got a settlement period there. So that's the low risk way to do it. And then you try to get the agents and the conveyancers to orchestrate a simultaneous settlement. It doesn't always happen, but if you plan it from the start, you can have a really good chance of doing it. Now, that's not always going to work for everybody, but I would say that is the majority of things that people do. That's the process the majority of people take.
Yeah, so going to Red Squirrel's advice that they're getting at the moment, from some agents, and I don't know what planet these some agents are living on, but leasebacks or subject to sale in this climate is not going to work.
No one's going to take a subject to sale offer.
No.
In this world where you're competing against people that are ready to go. If you've got your house exchanged first, then you can go and be a confident buyer. You've got your but once you've exchanged contracts on yours, you can go and buy without any sort of conditions.
The only reason a leaseback might work is if you get an investor that pays too much for your property that you can't resist and say to them, look, we want to live in this property for the next 6 months
while we
until
find
sort
a
our
property.
own
Absolutely.
stuff out.
So, but that's the thing. I think I would be doing the Rach approach first, even if it was a third or fifth tier lender. Like if they were tight on finance and you could throw them with Pepper or someone like that.
Oh, yeah. Generally, if it's not a main lender, I'm not doing it.
Okay.
That's not the Rach approach.
Yeah, okay.
No, absolutely
This
not.
is the Glen Fast and Loose approach, and I like
That's
it.
Glenn not listening to Rach approach.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're trying to get a longer settlement.
But I think the whole thing is, if you're doing this, you can't dick around looking for the perfect home if you've got the house sold and you're in a longer settlement period.
100%. And everyone, like I've been open about my own journey. I went and fell in love with a property before I sold, and I stuck the 10% down before even having my house ready to sell, and I took a huge risk.
So you got property fever.
And I did, and a lot of people do that. A lot of clients, this is the approach we would recommend, and they still go the other way, and that's fine. If you want to take that risk, you can take it. And in this kind of market, some people do, and it's fine, but you need to understand the risk before you take it. And for most people, the risk is less to rent for 6 months than to potentially lose a 10% deposit.
And also for the Red Squirrel, the risk is also paying too much for the home that they want to buy purely because they've got a time-ticking bomb sitting in the background saying, I need to buy something, so now I have to go and buy it. So I'm just going to grab something and pay 50 overs for it.
Yeah.
And I was doing some real loose numbers, and because everyone on the planet knows that moving house is the absolute worst thing in the world, right?
100%.
It's just left of being a plumber. I don't know, whatever.
Safest job in AI, apparently.
I think plumb's a great job.
Plumbing's great.
I mean, I wouldn't like to unclog toilets, but either way.
It's technology that stops them from having to do that.
What I would say is I need you to step back and have a look at your overall situation. And if that means that we are selling an asset worth $700,000 or $800,000, right? And buying a new PPOR worth $1 million, right? If you have to spend 0.2% on, is it 0.2%? I think so. It's early. No, it's going to be 2%. Yeah. If you have to spend 2% of the initial purchase price of the new property to make sure you get the right property, I think that's okay. And you're looking at me funny, like, where's this 2%?
Where's the 2% coming from?
What are you on about?
So what I'm on about is if you had to sell the house, get cash in the bank, pay a removalist to go and put it in storage costs, it's actually cheap storage, call it $3,000 for 3 months. Like, it's actually not expensive storage. And then rent for, 3 months, could be $13,000, whatever the price is. So this exercise, if we had to allocate $20,000 in the process, which could be 2% of the new purchase price, to make sure we do it right and don't get screwed, that's a conservative approach I would be taking.
Yeah.
We're selling, slow down, yep, moving sucks, okay, sure, pay a removalist. Could be $3,000 each way to the storage and then back to the house. We're paying a removalist.
Yeah.
Then we're going to rent for 3 months and buy in a methodical way, because the house that you might want in the desired area might not be for sale.
Yeah, I think they're wanting to avoid that, though. That's the whole premise of the question.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm saying, are they wanting to avoid it because of the hassle? And I'm like, yes, I get that. But if we put money to something, we help remove hassle, aka storage and removalist.
I think
paying
it's fear.
someone to remove
I think
it
it's
and
fear
paying
of the
storage.
unknown.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time people look at this, and I see this every day, they look at these scenarios when they're upsizing and it feels overwhelming. But when you break it down into scenarios, and a lot of the time, here's the 3 options that you can do, here's how all of them will look financially for you, it makes people find it easier to make a choice. And I've got clients at the moment we tried to organise a simultaneous settlement for, and it was supposed to be for last week, and we couldn't make it happen. The place that they bought, the owner wanted a 30-day settlement. There was no exceptions. They were competing with so many other buyers, and they're going to move in this Thursday. All their things had to go into storage for 9 days. But again, that's still so much smaller than had they risked their $200,000 of a 10% deposit without selling their home.
And that's what I wanted to, and I know we've probably already put a pre-roll ad into this first segment because we've kind of gone over the 8 minutes that I like to keep it, so apologies. That's why I really want people, when you are looking at these big things, to reduce fear and anxiety, we need to put numbers on the table.
Yeah.
And if you said, John, or if I said, John, we can make this less stressful, but it's only going to cost 2% of the new purchase price, and you can take all the urgency out of it. There's dicking around, because obviously when you've got a removalist, you've still got to kind of be there and be like, that box, no, that's a fridge. That doesn't belong in the first bedroom. Like, you kind of got to be present, but we can actually go, we think it's worth spending $20,000, a bit of disruption over 3 months to make sure the house that we're buying, that we're going to live in for the next 10 years, is the right fit. Because in 4 years' time, when we're in that house, we can look back and go, we love this. We're so happy that we did rent and camp for 2 or 3 months. Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.